Today we're going to discuss various research areas in artificial intelligence. And by research areas, what do we mean? Basically, what we're trying to do is actually look at the brain from various perspectives, for which various research areas, so to speak, like psychology, like mathematics, like computing, like philosophy, they've all contributed and looking at the brain from various perspectives. Today's discussion is actually based on the computing aspects of each of these. What research areas are working on and looking at the behavior of the brain from various perspectives. What we've learned so far is knowledge representation, reasoning, and the knowledge base out of which people work as we normally do. Human beings are typically not very good at crunching numbers. So if you place in front of them a lot of numbers, human beings are not really good at interpreting those numbers. Instead of those numbers, if you give them a pattern or a figure, they will very easily, quickly recognize a shape or a pattern or whatever else. So we need to keep that in mind, that human beings are good at processing symbolic information rather than number crunching. Now let's talk about various research areas. For instance, expert systems is a very popular area. In expert systems, what we do is we replicate the behavior, the knowledge representation, and the reasoning mechanism of the experts, meaning how they reason about knowledge, how they represent knowledge, how they reason about knowledge, and then they come to certain conclusions or decisions. Natural language processing. Natural language processing is another very, very fast area of research and interest. When you speak using, let's say, machine translation, we're able to translate speech into text and vice versa, text into speech. That's one of the most common areas. From there, people have now built, I'm sure you've heard, several softwares that are able to translate live speech into text and translate into other languages also. So that's one of the very important areas. Natural language processing. How do we speak? When we take pauses, what do we mean? Okay, and so forth. Another area is neural networks. Neural networks is trying to focus on the way we think the brain is structured, which is like an interconnected set of neurons talking to each other. And there are billions and billions of neurons. They talk to each other, they transfer information between them, and they also, based on that, they either reason or they store information or they learn from it. So that's the area of neural networks, or rather artificial neural networks. Fuzzy logic, for instance. Fuzzy logic is actually an area where in typical daily life, if you notice, we talk about vague things. For instance, we talk about height. Now, height is a subjective area. Depending upon what sort of population we have, if you go to those areas where the average height is less, let's say around 5.5 feet, for example. Now, in those areas, if you have a set of heights of various people, in there, a height of, let's say, 5.5 feet may be taken as tall. Whereas, if you go to another area, there, if the average height is 6 feet, for instance, then that 6 feet becomes your reference, and you say this is tall, or this is small, or short, or whatever. So remember this vagueness, and we're quite used to it. You say, how cold is it? Now it's feeling very cold, or it's feeling very hot. What exactly is hot and what exactly is cold is vague. And as human beings, as you can see, as human beings, we are very adept at managing these things. We're not good at numbers, but these references vague information. Another area of research, expert systems, I mentioned robotics. There's a lot of interest in robotics. Robotics is basically the physical side of creating intelligent machines, and how people run, move, fall, walk, touch those things. And one of the most common and the most interesting example is that of a RoboCup, a project that has been created to actually create a football team of robots that can beat the human football team on a football World Cup by the year 2050. So that's about the various areas of artificial intelligence. And as we go along, we'll then go into details of each of these. Thank you very much.